Mm. Alright, I'm live now. Alright, cool. Alright, this will be a simple live stream, just explaining tuning and mods. It will be a bit long because I will get technical with this live stream, which will become a live video. It's mostly going to take place on this car settings, and I'll just explain everything. Now, we're using the 2020 Toyota Supra because, well, I have like 4 of them. They're easy to modify, they're easy to understand, to drive even on a wheel. It's one of the best cars to learn Gran Turismo 7. I'll explain that in another video, probably this week. It'll be available. I'll explain why the Toyota Supra 2020 version is the best starter car. But let's start off with car settings, and we will need to understand terminology first. So over there you see, yes, I can use it as a mouse. Drivetrain, it says FR. Now FR means the engine's in the front and the power's being sent to the rear wheels. So that's what FR stands for. And aspiration is turbo, so turbocharge. Now, if you don't know what a turbocharger is, a turbocharger uses the exhaust fumes to spin a turbine on the hot side that spins up a smaller turbine, or a turbine on the cool side, that compresses air. Now, compressed air is more dense, and more dense air coming into the engine generates more power. So it's called forced induction, because the compressed air being more dense is creating more power. So fumes to spin a turbine which compresses the air and then shoves it into the engine. There are much better videos explaining that, but that's the general premise of a turbocharger. Over here you have your performance points. This is like the general understanding of how many your performance points your car has. And as you can see, this menu up here, right at the top in the middle of the screen, you can see your car, your power, your weight, your layout, front engine, rear wheel drive, and your aspiration, turbocharger in this case. And you have your performance points. This will always be shown in the menu. I think in almost every menu, this information is over here. It shows what car you have and what are the basic stats. But over here you can see we have your displacement. Here it's almost 3 liters. It's just 0.002 cc from being a perfect 3 liter. Here we have again drivetrain, our power 6,600 rpm. That's when the max power is reached within the rev range. And we have our torque. I don't understand kgfm. I'm South African, so I use kilowatts for power and newton meters for torque. So brake horsepower I can understand. After watching tons of American videos, you soon understand horsepower. You just becomes a standard. Weight, this car is a bit heavier because I added a ballast, and I'll show you why a ballast can be important in this game. And again, our aspiration. And here's the condition of your car. So oil, engine condition, I think that's body condition as well. So back to our settings, and we have our front rear weight balance. Now usually the goal is 50-50, but I think in a rear wheel drive car, getting closer to 60 is preferred. I like to stay with between 50 and 60 for the rear. That's my preference for rear wheel driven cars. And here you have acceleration performance, how much time it takes to get to these goals here. See 0 to 400 meters, 0 to 1000 meters, 100 to 150 kilometers. It just shows you these over here. And here you have your stability. I don't understand the stability scores here that much. And here you have your rotational g-forces. And my camera is in the way. Can I move the camera? Hold on, let me see if I can move the camera. Can I move the camera? Yes, I can move the camera. I think I'll leave the camera in the corner. Okay, my camera has moved. I think the live stream will show just now. I'm just gonna make sure. This is my first live video where explain everything. The reason I'm making these live videos is I don't have a PC that can capture and edit in high quality, and the easiest way to have my face in these videos explaining everything in Gran Turismo is actually live streaming it and having YouTube just save a replay. I think it's the easiest way, and also it's just more genuine in explanation and stuff. There's not just, I'm not cutting on everything. It's just one take. If lots of auto journalists can do one take videos, why can't I? It's basically a virtual one take. But here you have your rotational G, 60 kilometers, 120 kilometers, and 240 kilometers. The higher these are, usually the better. But usually with tuning, you want to find a way for the car to drive the way you want it to drive. So these scores they're okay. They're better than stock. I think they're much better than stock, but I'll explain why. So first thing is first, tires. Tires are like one of the most important aspects of tuning. It determines your grip level. Like, it's your baseline for grip. It's what touches the ground with your car. So here we have sports softs. Sports hards come stock with this car. They're okay, but in general, the first thing you do when buying a standard street car is getting straight sports softs. They last long enough, and the grip level is better. Now, why they have 3 different levels of hard, medium, and soft for like these tires? Hard tires last longer, but the grip is lower. Medium is the best of both worlds, and soft, they last the least, but the grip level is the highest. Same with racing tires. Hard, they last forever, basically, but the grip level is lower than the mediums, which don't last as long, but they have higher grip, and softs have the highest grip and lowest lifespan. Racing wet tires like intermediates and heavy wet, I'm not sure about the lifespan. I barely race in wet conditions. I just know heavy wet is like, it's pouring down. It is basically almost a storm. Intermediates is if it's been raining, but then the rain is starting to fade away into a drizzle, and the track is still wet. You use intermediate tires. But this tune is just my preferred tune for this car. The Toyota Supra is like my number 1 favorite car. I'll explain that again in the video, explaining why the Toyota Supra is the best starter. I'll probably link the video when it comes out. But yes, tires determine how much grip and how much lifespan the tires have. So I use sports softs because I mainly use events that don't have tire wear or fuel use. I play this game because it's fun, because why not? Now suspension, you have your different levels of suspension, and again, suspension is also quite important for the way this car handles. It's what connects the wheels and tires to the car, so they're also quite important. Now you have your normal suspension. Now this car is quite rigid, but the suspension is a bit loose, right? It's a bit playful, and yeah, you don't really feel anything through the steering wheel with a normal suspension. Street, I think I used it once and left. Sports suspension, sports is good, but you don't have the customization, which gives you more freedom of how the car handles, how the way you want it to handle. Height adjustable sports suspension, I recommend those if you're using sports tires, and I'll explain why. And fully adjustable is just everything you see over here can be customized with fully adjustable, but height adjustable is actually quite adjustable. The first time I height and maybe camber, and that's about it. You can actually do a whole lot to the suspension with height adjustable sports suspension, but you don't have as much freedom, right? You can't do anti-roll bars. That's important for the way the car pitches and rolls in corners, and you can't do the toe angle. So toe angle, this is our wheel, and now we have camber. This is basically negative camber, and this is positive camber. And toe is basically toe in, the wheel is coming into the wheel well, like this. And toe out is the wheel going out of the wheel well, like that. So toe angle can be important. Here, height adjustable has the rear tires toe in a little bit. And that has, I think it allows better stability in the straight, but it compromises cornering. Having toe angle for the rear wheels for a rear wheel driven car is okay as long as it's low. I think it's good if you're under 0.40, but in general, when I get a fully customizable suspension, I'm always at 0, like perfectly straight. I find that influencing camber is more important than toe angle, but sometimes toe angle can help. I'm not the best at understanding tuning. I just tune because I need the car to feel better. Now we have our body height adjustment. That's simple. How high the car sits. Over here, the Toyota Supra is sitting 90 millimeters in the front and 100 in the back. Now the 100 is the rear is raised 10 millimeters. Excuse me, 10 millimeters because I don't want the rear wheels. The rear wheels sit low already. I don't want the rear wheels to grind along the rear wheel arch. So I raise it just a little bit, and also that can also influence downforce. I'll explain downforce when we get to it at the aerodynamic section. So our dampening ratio, and this is for compression. Compression is squishing. It squishes down, and expansion is how much it squishes up, basically. Usually the compression is lower than the expansion. For here, I set it to stock. It's alright. It's fine. It's stock. Now with sports suspensions, I like having the compression and expansion higher than using fully customizable when using racing tires. I'll explain why racing tires I like to loosen up with compression expansion, but also I like having racing tires at a higher natural frequency. Now with natural frequency, the game explains everything to you perfectly. You just press square on the item you want to adjust over here. It says more information or read description. You press square and it explains to you what everything is. So here it says recommended for comfort or sports tires is 1.1 to 1.5 hertz and 3 hertz to about 5 hertz for racing tires. But here I'm at 2.4. I usually max out the height adjustable sports suspension because they're still a bit soft. But as you can see, we've maxed the front natural hertz or frequency. At the back, I have 0.2 values higher. Now I usually like balancing these out, just so that the ride comfort is consistent on both the front and the back. Some cars you might actually need to reduce the front or the back depending on how the car acts under acceleration and cornering. The Porsche 911 GT3, the 997, I reduced the natural frequency for the rear because the suspension under acceleration for that car, it does this a whole lot. So I just reduce the natural frequency for the rear lower to the front so that it doesn't keep jumping like this under acceleration. The smoother your engine revs, the more progressive the power will build up, and again, the more smooth things are with driving and racing, usually in the end you'll be faster. Here we have our camber, we have our negative and we have our positive. In this game there's only negative. I don't know why you do positive, I'm not sure, but negative camber. Now this can be important as well. I usually hover around 2 degrees. I think it's degrees. I'm not sure if these are degrees. They're basically values here. I usually hover between 2 and 0.5 for the front. I usually end up at 1.5. It just usually works. Now sometimes I reduce the camber angle for the rear. Usually having more camber for the front allows for better grip when turning, and having less camber for the back allows for better grip for acceleration and straight line stability. But here I have 1.5 because I found out with the setup of this car, having 0.5 degrees during cornering, there's not enough movement. I want the car to have less understeer. So making the wheels be the same as the front reduces understeer just a bit, just a little bit. Here we have our differential, and I'm not fully understanding a differential. I think a differential, if you're taking a corner towards the right, the left wheel, which is on the outside of the corner, will turn faster than the inside wheel, which is the right wheel. Now this allows the car to turn faster, right? It allows the car to kind of get more grip on the outside, pushes the car into the corner. And a limited slip differential, I think it allows the car to, I'm not fully sure, but I think I've seen people have a differential in the car that allows it to slide but still be slip differential. What is our initial torque? Well, actually, first we have different type of differentials. We got our standard one. Now, a one-way limited slip differential will only control the initial torque and the acceleration sensitivity, and a two-way does both. They're set values. These are fixed. You can't edit these. And a fully customizable, you can customize these values on your own. As you can see, initial torque, acceleration, your braking, you can customize those. But I usually stay with standard because, again, this is a standard car. Now, our initial torque, again, the game explains to you, just press square. Our initial torque is how much torque the differential is when it's activated, right? Basically, the higher you put the initial torque value, the more sensitive the differential is to adding power or releasing it. It basically tells the differential how sensitive it needs to be. Acceleration sensitivity. Now I usually put these lower than braking, right? Now the reason I put it lower than braking is that when I coast or when I'm adding power, I want the car to turn when I'm coasting or adding power. And when I'm braking, I usually like to brake in a straight line. So in a straight line I brake and then I turn. I find it's much easier for me to drive that way, so I reduce the levels for braking sensitivity. So braking sensitivity, basically how sensitive the differential is when you're braking. That's when you're applying the brakes. Now it says you can add more braking sensitivity to influence more understeer, and that's necessary on some cars. As you can see, acceleration, it says it becomes more unstable. The car becomes unstable when the accelerator is released. Yeah, sometimes, but again, I want the car to turn under coasting or turn under acceleration for this car. Now we have our downforce and aerodynamics. Now, this car doesn't come with a splitter and a wing, but you can add it in GT Auto in car customization, and I'll explain that later. But the general premise here is you can adjust these once you add those pieces. And if the car is understeering, you reduce the rear downforce. That's in high speed corners. And if the car is oversteering, you add more to the rear and less to the front. I know it seems counterintuitive, but yeah. ECU. ECU is also a little bit important in this game, but yeah, just sports, you can't adjust it, adds more power, and also allows you to have the anti-lag system be on. I'll explain anti-lag as well. And you also have fully customizable, you can adjust the power here. It also grants you more power, but it gives you the option to adjust the power. So you can adjust the power here as well if you have the fully customizable. Now you got ballasting, how much weight you want to add to the car. Now it sounds silly to add weight to a car, but actually after understanding weight and ballasting and balancing a car is actually very, very good. So I have cars that I remove no weight, the car is just stuck, but I still add weight to either the front or the rear to influence how the car handles, especially under low speed sharp corners and high speed corners, and it can also help with stability. So I've said all 25 kilograms to the rear. So when it says 50 here, you're sending all that weight to the back, and when it says minus 50, you're sending all the weight to the front, and 0 means it's perfectly in the middle. I'm assuming that's either in the middle of the car or driving position. I'm not sure. I think when you set it to 0, it's middle of the car instead of driving position. And then you have your power restrictor. Now you might be wondering why you want to remove power. Some events require lower performance points, and also it's more freedom in conjunction with your fully customizable ECU. It's just basically the ballasting and power restrictor and output adjustment is for you to customize your car for lower performance points events or higher performance points events in this game. Transmission, we have a standard transmission here. I have a close ratio high. Yeah, this car has 8 gears and they're fixed ratios because, again, standard transmission. Now, there are other transmissions like a closed ratio low close ratio high, fully adjustable manual where you can use a clutch if your steering wheel has a clutch, and racing, which is just a sequential racing transmission. Now this car uses a torque converter transmission. Basically, there's a I'm not really sure, but this is like this spinning disc inside of the transmission that converts the torque into the transmission, right? It's like basically like a clutch that's always spinning, it's always on. And there's also your manual where you have a clutch, and then you have your DCT where it's two clutches but they're controlled by a computer, and then you have sequential. I don't know how a sequential transmission works. You can find Google results on those. I don't know how those work, but those are really fast. The moment you press next gear, they're really, really, really fast. Nitrous, you already know, Need for Speed. You press X, whatever button you put on the controller, it goes. Yeah, I don't have nitrous here, but you can adjust power output. I don't know how much power output you can adjust for this car, but basically it's how much percentage of a power gain you want to have. So for example, if you say maybe 10%, 10% of the power of the engine that your 10% of the power that the engine makes is added to the engine via nitrous, or you can have 70% of the power that the engine makes added with nitrous. I don't have it in this car, but I have another Supra. Well, explain other mods as well. Here you got, well, it's a supercharger. It should be called forced induction, but you know. Here we have a turbocharger. We have a standard turbocharger. You know, it's the turbocharger that comes with the car. Here you can see the line is flat, which is good. I like having flat engine response with turbocharged engines. It's the best way, in my opinion. Here we have low. There's better response at the low end of the RPM, and then there's medium, which is almost as flat. It's still a nice curve, very nice curve. I also use this turbo a lot for the Supra. Very simple curve. And then you have your high RPM. There's more boost at the high end of the rev range. Now, the turbocharger that I choose depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing an event where there's long straights and I'm going to be the higher rev range, I'll go with higher RPM. Or if I'm doing lower speed corners or just need response, I use a lower RPM or even medium. But here we're using anti-lag. Anti-lag is a system that dumps, I think it just dumps fuel into the combustion chamber of the engine, so that the turbo is always spooled up. Now when it's always spooled up, there's better response. The biggest problem of turbochargers is that it relies on the exhaust fumes of the engine keeping that turbine, you know, spinning. So to keep it spinning, it just keeps the engine revving at a higher RPM, slightly higher RPM, and dumps more fuel, so that it's always spooling. The response is still high. Turbo lag is basically you floor it, there's no power from the turbo, and then there's a surge of power. So anti-lag can alleviate that on two levels in this game. There's weak, and then there's strong. Now strong keeps the RPMs for this car at I think about 3000 RPM, and weak is at about 2000. So I use for this sports setup weak, so that it's not too intrusive. It doesn't aggravate the setup of this tune. But you can have it on strong, and if we put it on strong, we get more performance. But I found out that having it on weak allows the car to be more natural feeling, not as aggressive with the anti-lag. Make that weak. And our intercooler, now forced induction generates a lot of heat. So to remove this heat, we have an intercooler. Now, an intercooler, there's different types. There's I think water to air, air to air, but basically when you're driving, all that air coming into the front, you can see the intercooler. It looks like a white or stainless steel grill. That's the air coming into the intercooler. This basically this grill cools down the forced induction air coming from the turbo or the supercharger, and brings that cooler air. Cooler air is also more dense into the engine, so that compressed cooler air is generating a lot of power in the combustion chamber of the engine. You have your air cleaner, just a filter. You have your silencer, your exhaust, and your exhaust manifold. Now, an exhaust manifold is interesting. It's basically a series of pipes. They usually also sometimes called headers. That are coming out of the exhaust side of the engine. Now, I don't know anything much about exhaust manifolds. I just know equal length headers are usually the best for sound and also power. But yeah, again, normal. We're using a standard turbo. I usually change the exhaust manifold when using a different turbo. That's what I would do in real life. Makes common sense. Using a different turbo, a different geometry, you need new exhaust manifold. But yeah, standard turbo and standard exhaust manifold. Braking system. Now, brakes are one of the most important things when racing. It's better to stop than go. When you have the confidence of stopping the car, you know the car is going to stop. You have more confidence when going deep into a corner. You're carrying more speed into a corner. When you can carry more speed into a corner, under braking, you will leave the corner faster. You'll take the corner faster. So I always just, in general, just buy carbon brakes. Racing brakes, they're fine. They actually the exact same performance. It's just what type of look you want from your brakes. You want a shiny drilled look? There's the racing drilled. You want a shiny, almost monoblock looking brake? There's your starter discs. If you want carbon ceramics, because the darker color is like a gray, black color, we can have that as well. But the same premise. Racing and carbon brakes are exactly the same. The sports brakes, they're not as good, and then the standard brakes. Now the standard brakes for this car are not that good. They're rubbish. So I just went straight for carbons. I'd rather stop than go. Same with your brake pads. There's the normal brake pads, and then you have your sports brake pads, and then you have your racing brake pads. You have your handbrake. Now, I didn't understand why you'd have two handbrakes. Handbrake is handbrake. But actually, if you want to do drifting or you really want to handbrake quickly, there's a handbrake for drifting. And there's a value here that you can change. You can see 50 to 100%. It uses your hydraulic handbrakes, often used in rallying or gymkhana events. Basically, when you press your handbrake button at 100, the wheels will try to lock up, just fully lock up the moment you press. And at 50, it will progressively lock up to, I think about half the speed the wheels are moving. I'm not sure. But yeah, I usually use it for like higher end applications and tunes. But yeah, we can use normal. Car's not really going that fast. I'm not doing drifts with this car. And we have a brake controller. I'll always buy a brake controller. It's a small, simple modification that you can buy from the tuning shop. It allows you to influence brake balance. Basically, when you're braking, you want the front wheels to grip harder, or do you want the back wheels to grip harder? This doesn't really influence handling. It just influences how the car brakes. It can influence handling under braking. So I think if I set the brakes here for the rear to be all the way, number 5, I think the car would just, it would turn better because the front wheels are spinning faster than the rear wheels under braking. But I just stay at 0 because it's just front and rear, it's same. Also, brake balance can also be used for weight difference. That's how I do my brake balancing. So in a Porsche 911, there's 60 or sometimes more % of the weight on the rear. So I put the value on this value here on 1 because there's more weight. You need to get those wheels and all the weight back there to stop faster than the front. But yeah, because this car is perfectly 50-50, I just leave it at its neutral spot. But depending on how you want the car to brake and stop, there's a brake controller. Simple mod, just always buy it. Now, steering angle adapter, I always get it. I want more angle with my steering. So if I'm losing the car and it's oversteering and I need to counter steer to get the car nice and straight again, I need more steering angle. I find it again essential. It's a cheap mod. Now here you have 4WS, 4-wheel steering system. This car doesn't have it. 4-wheel steering is basically your front wheels, obviously they turn, but now the back wheels can also turn. It's either the wheels turn opposite direction, so I'm turning right, the wheels will turn left. This is at like low speed or basically stopped, so that the car's a tight turning circle. And at high speed, for more stability, I'm turning slowly left in a straight line, so you need to line up for a corner that's going to go right. Turning left, the back wheels will also turn left at a lower degrees, better stability. There is a car that I use a lot where the four-wheel steering just makes a difference. It's the Mercedes AMG GTS. I'll also make a video on that car because I love it a lot. But the four-wheel steering for that car, it's pretty good. It's very, very good. It makes the car feel like it just turns. And here again, once you have the mod, you can adjust how active the system is. Now we have our clutch and flywheel. No information on it? I guess so. We have sports, semi-racing, and racing as well. Oh, forgot to mention. Air cleaner, we have sports and racing. Silencer, we have semi-racing and racing. Exhaust manifold, we have racing. So that's just the level of modification for that component. Now our flywheel, I'm not sure what a flywheel is. I think the flywheel is in between the transmission and the engine, and I guess it's this thing that just spins with the car. I'm not really sure what a flywheel is. And clutch is your clutch. Disengage or engages the transmission from the engine. A simple thing. In this car, I don't think it doesn't have a clutch. There's no clutch, so the flywheel is an important part. I just know the lighter the flywheel, the more free revving the engine is. The more freely the engine can rev. Usually, you would want that with a high revving, naturally aspirated car, because it revs much easier. It's easier for the car to put power to the wheels. In general, a lighter flywheel is good. Now you have your propeller shaft. This is what connects the transmission to wherever the wheels are for being driven. So in this case, the engine sits about like here. Then there's your transmission and your wheels in the back. So you need a propeller shaft to send the power from the transmission to the wheels. Here you can have your standard one or carbon propeller shaft. The carbon propeller now again, lighter components being sent throughout the transmission, the engine to the wheels will in general spin the wheels faster, which will give you more speed. Now these over here are interesting. You can't select them. They only show what you've done to the car. Now with engine tuning, I haven't done anything to the engine. This is more of just a car I like to enjoy. It's my #1 favorite car. So I just kept the engine stock. Bore up. So bore of the engine is basically this. How like big or small the diameter of the cylinder is. So bore up, they take the diameter of the cylinder and they make it bigger. Stroke is how deep the cylinder is, like this. So stroke up, they take it like this and they just try to stroke it up a bit more. And engine balancing is all the components in the engine, crankshafts, rod bearings, the rod, the piston. Those get balanced up with weight, and usually if they're all lightened up and all similar weight, that's the engine spins up easier. It can generate RPM much easier. Polished ports, basically intake and exhaust ports, get nicely polished up so that airflow is nicely entered through. It's a nice clean stream of air coming to the engine, a nice clean stream of exhaust gases leaving the engine. I'm not sure if polished ports also mean the cylinder walls get lined up nicely, but we'll go to the tuning shop and Rupert, I think his name's Rupert, will explain what those mods are. We have our high lift camshaft. The camshaft is your timing for the valves. Is this I don't have any references of pictures. It's this like little lobe thing. I'll show you in the tuning shop that spins around with the timing of the engine. Now, high lift camshaft allows the intake and exhaust valves to be opened up for longer, and this allows more power. And sometimes it actually revs the engine. The engine can rev a bit higher with that high lift camshaft. Titanium connecting rods and pistons, higher strength, lower weight, easier for the engine to rev up. You got your racing crankshaft, just the crankshaft again, lightened up, balanced, stronger, again, allows you to rev the engine easier. And you have high compression pistons. Now turbocharged engines don't have high compression because of that forced induction. And naturally aspirated cars, so no forced induction, they can have higher compression pistons. Higher compression ratios can generate more power. I think compression ratio is how much when the piston comes up towards the top to get I think it's either a spark or fuel, to push out the exhaust as well. The higher that is, the more power. So that, comes up, high compression, spark pushes it down, and then restart the cycle. I'm not really sure on compression ratio in engine in the engine. I'm not really sure. You have bodywork. This is a weight reduction. There's 5 stages. There's quite a bit. And then there's increased body rigidity. Obviously, weight reduction is simple. Less weight, less weight, less weight, less weight, and less weight again. This car has 5 stages. Some cars can only have 4. Some cars can only have 3. I think some cars can only have 2 because they're already light. You don't need to lighten up them more. And increased body rigidity. I always get body rigidity increased with every car I get. I don't think it influences handling, but the game says, hey, better stability at high speeds. So I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll believe the game. I'll buy it. It is a bit of a pricey modification in this game, but I think it's just worth it for almost every car. So this is the entire car settings spreadsheet for the game that I've explained. Now let's move to Tuning Shop. We can get a visual reference of modifications and what they look like. And again, I think his name is Rupert. We'll explain in better detail. So there's different levels here. We have sports, club sports, semi-racing, racing, extreme, and ultimate. Now, before I think the latest update, ultimate was never a thing. All of these mods you'd have to either win from your daily reward. Basically, it's like a lottery system. It was rubbish. You'd either have to like grind it. You only get one daily reward a day. So it would take you either forever to get these, or you'd be super lucky. But now, if you're at collected level 50, which I have been because I have over 1,000 hours in this game. Yeah, I've been at level 50 for a few hundred hours now. All of this is available to you, which is nice. More customization, more modifications. It's good. I've bought the carbon propeller pop shaft because the other tunes have them. And let's start with sports. Nice and simple. So I think the essentials everyone should get in the sports tab is your ECU, which is the computer, air filter, exhaust, brake pads. If you know the car is light and it already brakes well, getting sports brake pads is good. But yeah, no, I usually just go straight to racing pads and carbon ceramic brake kits, just for every car. Unless I know the car already brakes well, then I can keep sports. But usually in general, the racing brakes will always be better. And I always skip to sports softs because I'm buying the street car just for casual use in game. If I'm buying a racing, don't forget wet racing tires as well. As you can see, we have weight reduction, street suspension, fairly simple. Now we have bore up. You can see these are the permanent engine mods that I haven't added to the car because again, this is just a casual car. This is what a camshaft looks like. How do I? Yeah. See, it's just like weird thing. It's like the shaft with lobes, and they push down the intake valve, and they push down the exhaust valve at different timing. Hey, his name is Rupert. Okay. Yeah. The valves are basically open for longer. Yeah, it usually benefits in the higher RPM range. Lower end, basically nothing happens. At the higher end is when it holds the valves up higher. And that's more power generated at the higher end. It depends on the car and what you're going to do with the car. Like I know the Maserati V8, the high lift camshaft. With that V8, you want lower end torque. So high lift camshaft doesn't make sense to me. But in a Honda VTEC engine, having higher lift camshaft for more power in the high RPM range makes sense. That engine likes to rev out, so I usually get that. Yes, it's used. Yeah, more pressure with high compression pistols. It's also very important to know. These permanent engine mods, if you want to move them, you have to buy a whole new engine. You can't just deselect it in your car settings spreadsheet. You have to like buy the entire engine again. You can see you can buy your differential, power restrictor, transmission, more weight reduction. You can buy dirt tires for some cars. Rallying in this game, not that good. I usually just ignore rallying in Gran Turismo. It's not rallying is not Gran Turismo thing. It's the tarmac that Gran Turismo does really nicely. There's also some more mods. You can't get a supercharger for this car. But basically a supercharger is another type of compressor. It compresses air, becomes more dense, sends it through an intercooler. It becomes more dense when it's cooled. More power coming into that the engine can generate with that compressed and dense air. So a supercharger, there's different types. I just know the the screw one. Like these two screw things that spin together, it becomes a vacuum, and it's powered by a belt connected to the engine. You know, the amount of power the supercharger makes relies on the engine because of how much power the engine is generating. I like turbos because they make cool noises, but I like superchargers. The response is instantaneous. There's no reliance on exhaust fumes or intake, or like air coming in. It just relies on the engine spinning a pulley, and then the belt connected to another pulley on the supercharger, and that spins up the supercharger. It's just basically instant response. It's basically natural aspiration with an inhaler, and then turbo is just basically it's collecting your farts for power. Oh, I went back twice. Again, you have more higher quality modifications. There's your body rigidity. I think for this card was 25,000 credits. I always get it. It just, I don't know. Rigidity. It's not reducing weight. It's not affecting weight. It's just, yeah. Sometimes it does reduce the performance points of the car, but in general, it's always like 0.5 or like 1 performance point. At the end, you gain points because the rigidity of the body is better, and that's usually for stability and high speed corners. The car doesn't not as loose in those situations. You have your engine balancing, polished ports. Torque vectoring is for 4-wheel drive cars. So cars that are driven with that are powered with the front and rear wheels, and this allows you to either be like, okay, this car has a lot of understeer. I'm gonna send more power to the rear so that under acceleration, you know, you can put power in mid corner, accelerate. There's more power going to the back, less understeer. Or this car is like, wow, there's a lot of oversteer. Send more power to the front. The values of vary from 50-50 to 5% to the front, 95% to the back. You can't have more power go to the front in this game. It's always either 50-50 or more to the rear. Active LSD controller, basically, if the limited slip differential is electronic, there are some cars that use, I think the Pagani Huayra I use a lot has an active LSD. This allows you to, also you can adjust the differential, and I think this differential works depending on your steering angle, again, braking and acceleration input, and the speed as well. Yeah, I don't like it. It works for some cars. Sometimes it says the performance points are higher, but in the end it makes the car a bit nervous. Like the differential doesn't know what to do. So I either just always get a fully customizable if I'm going to do real proper racing. Here you can also buy your manual transmission and your racing transmission, more weight reduction. These are your brake controller, manifolds. Same thing applies with high end and low end for supercharger. Low end means the supercharger is more responsive at the lower end. and the supercharger is more responsive at the high end. Barely does anything to the mid power band of the engine. Doesn't really change them, but like for lower end torque, it's just better response, and higher end is just when you at the high end and you pushing high speed straights, it holds better power for longer at the high end of the RPM. And British racing tires is the nitrous kit. 4-wheel steering controller I've explained. At low speeds, I'm turning right, back wheels go left. I'm going fast in a straight line, I'm turning left, back wheels go left. I think steering angle adapter is 2,500 credits. The hydraulic handbrake is also 2,500. Carbon ceramics are also expensive, about 15,000 credits, sometimes 20, depending on the car. And then you have, again, if you modified the engine and you don't like how the engine behaves, like you've added a camshaft, but the engine revs too high, I don't know why you wouldn't want it, but you can, again, buy a new engine. Or if you reduce the weight and you want to bring all the weight back, you can buy a new body, which is more expensive than the car. This car's about 77,000 credits, now it's 87,000 credits to get a new body. I would just buy a new car at that point. Double the car now. Have the other car for other things now. And I've explained your ultimate stuff. Although ultra high RPM turbo is for like the supreme high end of the RPM range. It's for like pushing maximum power at the high end. Again, if you're going in a straight line for a long time, this turbo is the one. Or like holding at the highest end of the rev range. This is just high RPM, but it's just higher power. It's not for like final end. It works like a high RPM supercharger, just much better power. It says improved power and torque at all rev ranges. I've never used a high RPM S supercharger, but I'm assuming it's just a really strong supercharger. Just works everywhere in the rev range. Again, you have weight reduction and your carbon prop shafts. I'd also buy the carbon prop shaft. It's not a permanent mod, and almost every car can have it. Now, GT Auto is also important on how you tune a car. Go to car maintenance and service. There are two permanent things you can do to the car. You can add a wide body, which does look cool in some cars. I don't like it in this car because, I mean, the fuel cap, it's like indented. If it was same shape as the rest of the car, I would 100% add the body cap. The Super looks nice when it's wide, but yeah, my OCD is doesn't look good to me. I don't know. Wide body depends on what you want to do. It can also grant better performance. See, it adds width, obviously it's a wide body, and it can improve our performance points. I didn't add it because thank you. Because yeah, the fuel cap. Just make it flush. Then I would just make it flush. It looks so much better. And you can do an engine swap. Now I've started getting way more interested in this game when engine swaps were available in the latest updates. Now this car doesn't have it, but I'm assuming if they were allowing engine swaps for this Supra, it would use the 2JZ inline 6 turbocharged engine from the previous generation of the Supra, the Mark IV. Now the 2JZ is a very overrated engine, and the Supra Mark IV is a very overrated car. But I would like the option to put in a 2JZ into this car. The 2JZ makes more power in this game than the B58 can in this game. I would have liked the option because I got like 4 Supras. Why not just shove in the big engine into one of them and like have an amazing time with the 2JZ? It just makes more power. It'll be fun to experiment with that. Also here you can do a car wash, oil change. Because this is a BMW, I've changed the oil in this car quite a bit because it's a BMW. Engine overhaul. If over here it says engine and it says like normal or think bad, yeah, you have to to spend 20,000 credits to get the engine back to its excellent condition. Same with body rigidity. I think with increased body rigidity, the mod that you get from the tuning shop, this takes forever to say normal or bad. I don't think I've ever had a car in this game say normal or bad. It's just, but again, it will happen eventually. I think with a used car, it will happen much earlier than expected. But again, with a used car, if it's still saying excellent and you buy that rigidity mod at the tuning shop, I don't think it'll ever say normal, not even bad. But yeah, usually this is like always the first thing you're gonna change. This will take a long time, and body rigidity has never happened. And I've been playing this game for 1,000 hours. I've never seen that say normal or bad, not once. No, wait. I think I bought a used 350Z at the used car section in this game, and it said the body was bad. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I guess it's used for drifting. The game has used cars, so it's like simulates the used car experience. Now, wheels do influence your performance points. Here I have these humongous wide, what are they, TE37s on this car. They look amazing, but it does influence the way the car handles. So if I select the standard wheel here, I set my offset to wide, rim width to standard, so a standard wheel, and standard size. I say install, we have 604.71. We say install, 604.63, because now the wheel is not as wide. And also, once again, I go to owned wheels, I say offset on standard, standard, and standard. We have 0.63, it's now 0.61. You literally lose 0.02, which is actually nothing. That's basically nothing. But some cars can really benefit from wide wheels. I think I added wide wheels to the 911 Turbo, the 930. It gained almost 2 performance points just because the wheel. Yeah, E37s, add that. I set them at 20 inch. Does the diameter affect? No, I don't think it does. Let's see. We're at 7.2 at the top there, wide and wide. Oh, the diameter does affect the performance, but again, 0.01, 0.02, like the 0.0 values are. It almost changes nothing. You got your brands, all your brands. I love BBS. Like 80% of my wheels are BBS. You can buy your paint colors. Thank you. Yes, you can buy real car paint. Never was a thing in Gran Turismo until this game, which is nice. Some car brands make really nice cars, or you sometimes want to keep the original color for the same brand. There's lots of options here. There's a lot of colors, and I'm glad that they've added them into this game. There's probably a lot of work to simulate the paints, but it's great. I use a lot of them. I haven't bought a lot of them because, well, some of them are ugly, some of them are really nice, some of them they're mainly like 4,000 credits. But like, I'm glad this is in the game. I think more car games should have manufacture colors into the games, because like there's just so many. Oh, licensing was probably an issue, but like, look at this. There's so much. Yeah, that's all the colors. There's a lot. I forgot how many colors there are in this game. There's a lot of colors. That's good variety. You got flake. There's flakes in the paint. You got dark flakes. Flakes in the paint, but the colors are dark. Matte metallic. It's like it's like some angles it's matte finish, some angles it's metallic. These are some nice colors, but I don't really like matte colors. They're okay, but not for me. But aluminium metallic, basically it looks like aluminium. This nice polished look, and you can get the multiple colors. I should actually buy all 3 of these at the bottom. They're really nice. Liquid metallic, it's a metallic color, but it looks like there's just like water, like colored water. It's a really nice colors here, almost chrome like. You have matte finish, half matte. Satin is a weird color. It's metallic and like there's like a tinge of matte finish. There's some nice colors here, but again, I don't have a lot because it's not the finish for me. I like glossy finishes. A fluorescent, which, yeah, it's just your driving signal. Yeah, they're very, very bright. Not for me. Matte fluorescent but matte. Candy metallic. No, candy metallic is my type of thing. I like deep metallic colors, and some of them are here, but again, manufacturer's colors are buy because a lot of them are like this. But look how deep some of these colors are. They're really good. Now dark candy metallic are like deep, but dark. Look how concentrated some of these purples are. Like they're dark. I love these colors. But chrome, I don't know why you would want to do chrome. The color shift. Some of them are nice, some of them are gross, some of them are cool, but they don't work for the whole car. They work for like small things of the car. And you got a carbon fiber. I think these were 5,000 credits, and you can only they all add in one go. You can't be like, oh, I want to have carbon, but I want to make my wing mirrors silver gray. No, you can't unless you go to the decal section and manually add in decals. Forged carbon does not look great. I used to use it a lot in the early stages of this game. It doesn't look great anymore. Carbon tool, yes, carbon fiber, Now, custom pieces that you add to the car. For the front, you have your splitters, and this can influence your downforce. Now, downforce can really influence how the car handles in high speed straight line and long winding corners. I think it's one of the most important things to add to a car is downforce pieces. As you can see, I added type A. It looks nice, and the side skirts don't affect downforce values in this game. I don't know why some side skirts do affect downforce, but in this game they haven't been simulated. They're just there for looks. I've added type A because again, it looks nice. Rear diffuser. Rear diffuser can influence the front and the rear, even if you don't have a wing or a splitter. So these are really useful if you don't want a wing or a splitter and you just want to have this carbon fiber piece along the back of the car. Type A it actually is a diffuser. It does affect the front and rear, but it has this almost OEM look, and again, it looks better than this. That's why I added it. And a wing. Say a wing is more important than a splitter. Just there's more flexibility for tuning a car's handling for straight line speed and high speed corners. But yeah, again, I added type A. It looks nice. You can get the basket handle and you get a custom wing here. And you have how many types? Got like what, 25 types of canards? Wing canards? I'll call them wing canards. I don't know, these pieces at the end. I'm keeping type A because it looks nice. By the way, you get a type A, type B, or custom wing set. They all have the same amounts of adjustments. Even if you're with a low wing or a high wing or medium wing, they all have the same amounts of adjustments. Racing items, these are like cosmetics. You got your pins for the bonnet. They're an ugly place on this car. And add your tow hooks. They do nothing to performance, it's cosmetic. And you have your roll cage. Roll cage can change your value. Here we have 7.1. We're gonna add one, it becomes 6.1. But it does not add weight to the car. I'm sure it does. Maybe it does affect the balance. You might not see it in the sheets, but with the simulation, it probably does affect balance of the car. But Again, rigidity. It's usually for rigidity. I don't add a roll cage almost anytime. You got your GT Auto within GT Auto, your other things you can add. Light bulbs, what color temperature you want. Always put super cool for like modern cars with cool headlights. Some cars, older cars have rubbish headlights, like you can't see a thing. So I always go for like daylights or warm. Just the brightness with these aftermarket pieces. Got your number plate, what type of number plate you want, got standard, you get for the back only, what type of shape you want, you know, standard stuff. It's all preference. Front grille, some cars you can change the front grille, like add a mesh, remove the logo, add in a scoop for the front vent. This car you can't have it because, well, it really looks sick. But you have your caliper colors, yeah, you can choose your colors, all nice. These do not affect performance points at all, and you can only change the caliper colors for racing discs. So that's your drilled, your slotted, and your carbon ceramics. You can change these. Calipers are huge for the racing discs. Look at that, they're massive. And livery editor, you create your liveries. You know, you can add logos and stuff. I'm actually gonna put the wheels of the color back. Might as well quickly show you what it is. Now the reason you saw some of the cars weren't loaded in, I religiously played this game on my PS4 until it sadly died. I think I put 700 hours into the game on the PS4 until it died, and then I got the PS5 and continued in better quality. This game, during gameplay, it looks similar to the PS4, but like stuff in menus, the text, this game looks so much better in the menus and replays, special environments. The PS5 version is quite nice. So if you've moved from PS4 to PS5 and some of your images haven't loaded in, just overwrite deliveries, and then the image will show up in your library. And there, done. An image now. Alright, you got your paint. What you'd like to change, you can press an R3, see what you'd like to change. Side mirror isn't showing because I've added a decal, rear wing, and other. And wheels as well, you can change. Now decals, you may have noticed, why is my roof black? Well, I added my own decals. 9 decals to make the roof black, and it looks amazing. It almost looks OEM. I think I spent like almost an hour making this roof. It looks like the car came with it. It looks amazing. Again, you can change other body panels, side mirrors, rear wing. You can add decals, stickers. You can import your own logos and stuff, or you can go to I think it's a content library in this game. You can import stuff like logos from brands, fan-made logos and stuff. The customization communities in Gran Turismo, they're quite good. I've downloaded F1 replica wraps because some of them are really well made. You can even add on the windows, which was never a thing in Gran Turismo Sport. Now look, in the window here. Windshield banner, you have to add a banner. I'm not gonna add a banner because, well, there's cameras there. Ruins the purpose. And then other. So small things like this fake vent here. I've added the window trim. What was this? The mirror trim over here. I've added all the bottom pieces like the skirt splitter and diffuser. I changed that already. Sometimes adding decals in this game is very irritating. Sometimes the sticker is like on the other side of the car, or you've placed it on what you want, but sometimes the sticker replicates itself on another part of the car. It's very irritating. It's just, you'll get used to it in customization. Race options, got tons of race options. Tie stickers, I can't change in this car. Lights cover, you can add a driver's name. Look at that, put my name there. Nice. Windshield banner, white, black, or livery. You can put your own design there. Oh, that actually looks. You know what? That looks quite nice. But again, looks better. And you can add a number to the car. You can say 69. You can say 420. 911. Um, you can, I mean, like the Porsche 911. You can also say 21. You know, they're not for me. They're a bit ugly. Most of my designs for cars in this game are simple. Just paint, decals, wheels, smaller wings, smaller splitters. Just more OEM plus look to my cars. These are your settings for editing. You can change exposure, like -3. Ooh, very dark now. Or +3, which is blinding to me on my TV. This is ooh. I just keep it at 0. You can invert your controls for the camera. Come on, man, what's going on? Default projection type. I don't know what that does. Default decal color. I always put white. It's like a highlighter. And what kind of background you want at default. And you can just, look at the car. And the detail in this game is insane. Look at this. The light there. Even the fake vents look like in real life, the fake vents. And the detail in this game is insane. Look at that. It's amazing. Yeah, so you can preview any errors with, like, again, your decals or some things you want to change. Sometimes you just want to take a screenshot. It's looking a little jagged over there. And that's, like, directly from the game. Yeah, you can, like, look up close. You can change your background. You got white, which is good. I use black. I use white when I want to see the car in perfect lighting. But sunny, which is not really sunny. Overcast, and then there's cloudy. I don't use these because I need natural light. Yeah, the detail in this game. Look at that. It's insane. Crazy. Alright, I think that ends the stream. A live video. A long one. Lots of explanations. Huge. In fact, this was only for one car. I have like tons of cars where I can explain in better detail. But let me end off with, again, suggestions for other layouts for cars. So we'll choose an FF, which means engines in the front wheel drive. And we'll choose an MR, engine in the middle, rear wheel drive. And we'll choose an RR, which is engine in the back, rear wheel drive. And 4-wheel drive means all the wheels are driven. So let me quickly find those. I expect this stream or this video to be so long, but yeah, there's a lot of like theory and explanations with tuning and like setup and stuff. So we have an RR over here. Very nice Porsche. I'm waiting for it to get restocked to used cars. You can add in a modern turbocharged engine with an engine swap. Anyway, over here we have, as you can see, RR. And my suggestion is adding more weight to the back. Doesn't make sense, but actually adding more weight to RR sets up cars in high-speed corners and allows for better stability in a straight line. I've also added one brake balance to the rear because that's where all the weight is. Let's choose a front wheel drive car. Where is it? It's easy to say. I don't drive them a lot. In fact, almost not at all. I can't find any car. Oh my gosh, there's no front wheel drive car. There we go. Suzuki Swift. I like this car. I want this as my first car. It's expensive though. It's like almost R500,000 in South Africa. I don't know how much that is in dollars. That's about over $30,000. Probably still over £30,000 in UK. It's expensive. It's nice though. But as you can see, FF. Now all the weight is in the front. As you can see, 60% in the front, 40% in the rear. braking, -1. All the weight is in the front. And I think sometimes you might have to say -2. So all the weight is in the front. When you're braking, all the weight shifts to the front. So now you have all the weight in the front already while accelerating. When you're braking, most weight from the back of the car moves to the front, but all the weight is in front. So yeah, you might have to put that at -2 or -1. I'm just gonna leave it -1. This car already brakes well. And my weight balance, again, still to the back. To reduce understeer, you add more to the back. To reduce oversteer, you add more to the front. Yes, but because this car does have some understeer, I've added weight to the back. I think that concludes. No! Whoa, no, I almost forgot. It's almost about to end. Anyway, this is a Supra I have fully modified, but has the exact same setup as this one here. So all the values here are exactly the same. Even the components are exactly the same. But the biggest change were the permanent mods, such as the bore up, engine balance, polished, it's been cammed, it's been rodded and pistoned, it's been cranked, it's been weight reduced. The amount of performance you gain from adding those is insane. So this is at 604.71, but we are 100 performance points up with the exact same values and components, although except for ballasting. This car is lightened, but it has mad downforce, but because it's lightened and still has high power, over 600 horsepower, I found out adding a bit of weight to the back settles its kind of loosened bum a bit. But yeah, look, everything's been even extreme camshaft, extreme bore up, and extreme weight reduction. It's just fully modded. You gain 100 performance points. So those permanent mods are very important for what you want to do with the car. And again, if you want to remove those, new body, which costs more than the car, I just buy a new car. And if you want a new engine to remove all the bore up, the stroking, the camshaft, you need a new engine. Now that's not too expensive, but it's like half the price of the car. But that's if you only want to have the one car and you don't want to do anything with the body, but like you were experimenting with the engine before doing an engine swap, you can buy an original engine. But yeah, you can see the mad performance gains with just adding those permanent mods. I think that concludes tuning and mods for Gran Turismo 7. Now, I think there are other channels out there. I will link them in the description that will explain this much better than me. I just play the game for fun. The other channels that I'm going to find probably play this game competitively. I just like messing around, driving cars. The way this game interacts with the steering wheel is amazing. I'll explain how this game works when I actually drive a car. That will be first with this car. Why the Toyota Supra is the best front-engined rear-wheel drive starter for Gran Turismo. I'm not saying that because I really like this car and I actually want to own about 5 of them in real life. Anyway, that concludes my stream. Hopefully you watched till the end because this is a long one. I don't even know how long it was. I'm gonna do my daily reward now. Anyway, goodbye. Wow, 1 hour 15 minutes. That's a long stream, very long.